Buying your first home should feel exciting, but for many it ends up being stressful, confusing, and full of unexpected setbacks. The truth is, first-time homebuyers often walk into a process blind, making mistakes that can cost thousands or even cost them the home altogether. In this episode, we're breaking down the most common and costly missteps and giving you the insight to avoid them. Stay with us until the end because we're not just talking problems, we're sharing real stories, smart solutions, and one game-changing tip that every first-time buyer needs to hear before making an offer. I'm here with Shelby McKay. How you doing, Shelby?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So we're going to be talking about basically first-time home buyers today.
Okay, great.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
So a little bit about me is I started with VR Builders back in 2017. That was kind of my first segue into the real estate world. That is where we met, exactly. Long time since then. So I worked there for about a year. I worked at one of the models and aspired to be maybe a sales manager one day. That didn't end up working out. I worked at another place for a couple months, and through that friend connection, I met Garrett Bell, who is now, of course, the broker of De Novo Realty. So I ended up getting hired by Garrett. Worked with for him for the next 6 years up until last year, and it was great. I learned so much. Obviously, I was in the marketing department, so a lot of that does translate into the real estate world, of course.
No, that's you've worked with some great people. VR Builders, great company locally. Garrett Bell's been on the show here before, and great job he's done over there at De Novo Realty.
So great. I mean, it's just a fantastic situation. There's just an amazing group of staff and agents that they've recruited over the years, and it's a very awesome place to be at, that's for sure.
So tell me what you're doing now.
So now I actually left De Novo last year, so now I am at EXP Realty with my father, David Jelinek. So it's a very exciting time in my life because here we are, father-daughter team. He's been selling real estate for nearly 40 years in Brevard County, so he's probably the best mentor, of course, I could find around here, and it's just been such a great learning experience with him. He's taught me so many things, as well as I bring some stuff to the table as well with being at De Novo for so long. But I mean, it's just a great setup, and I aspire to be like him one day. That's for sure.
Awesome. That's awesome. You can work with family too.
Yes, I mean, sometimes people can't always work with family, but we do a pretty good job. We're pretty similar in a lot of ways. We have our differences, but you kind of complement the differences. With that type of relationship.
So real estate's in your blood.
It is,
and you've had some great mentors along the way.
I sure have.
So good. So in your time in real estate, you've dealt with first-time home buyers.
Yes.
Probably a lot.
Currently, as well as in the past, yes, absolutely. Good. So, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I got some questions maybe we can share here. So in your experience, what's the most common mistake first-time home buyers make?
So the most common mistake I would say is not talking to a lender. So typically, first off, they just assume what they can afford based on what their income is. They don't think about other factors such as their credit, such as their time at the job that they're currently at, their debt to income ratio. Those things they don't always think about. So they just say, "Oh, I'm making $50,000. I probably can afford this."
Right.
So that's something that I see all the time, and I'm like, "No, please talk to a lender. It's not going to hurt your credit."
Yep.
Hardly at all, if any.
Right.
And, they'll give you a better idea.
Sure. Well, I remember graduating from college, and I had a decent job, and I was thinking about buying a house, and someone told me, well, if you're looking to buy a house, you can only buy this much according to your income. Right. Well, I didn't buy a house because of that. And it was bad advice. Yes. It was just we'll call it a bystander.
Yes.
It might have been a family member, but they gave me bad advice, and I didn't buy the house, and I lost out on so much potential equity. Yeah.
So just knowing who to talk to and what advice to get from those professionals, I mean, they can either make or break the situation. Sure. Absolutely.
So what are some misconceptions first-time home buyers have about the home buying process, and how do you help correct those early on?
So I would say your down payment is something that people always initially think, I have to put 20% down.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, and I'm sure you've heard it 10 times more than I have.
Sure.
That's not always the case. Of course, there's situations where you can put a lot less down. You can put anywhere from 3 to 20% depending on your situation. But there's a lot of programs out there that provide first-time home buyer assistance. So it's important to know some, professionals in the area that they can put you in touch with those programs.
Right. And yeah, so there are first-time home buyer programs, but the biggest misconception that we fight all the time is that 20% down myth.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so funny how that's persisted for so many years, and it hasn't been the case in a long, long time.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Are there certain red flags first-time home buyers often overlook when viewing potential homes? So they're looking at homes, they're pre-approved. We got them pre-approved, right? Now they're looking at homes. What are some potential red flags that they might miss?
So one thing that comes to mind, and I don't know if it's necessarily considered a red flag, but one thing that comes to mind is homes without hurricane protection.
Okay.
So, for example, impact windows or shutters, because having a home with hurricane protection will provide you typically a lower insurance premium. On that insurance premium, if your insurance is cheaper, then you're going to have a cheaper monthly payment. So that's just something I necessarily did not think about when we bought our home 4 years ago. It had original 80s windows, and now we're paying a lot less per year because, we would have paid a lot more per year if we didn't replace our windows.
Right.
So having the hurricane protection has been such a blessing to us because it's lowered it by thousands.
Yeah, I think we talk about affordability all the time. And people always translate affordability to one of two things. It's either the interest rate or the price of the home, right? But affordability, that insurance is so important because insurance, as you know, in Florida can range really widely.
Yes.
I mean, from like $1,000 a year to $10,000 to $20,000 a year.
Absolutely. And that depends on the location, the age of the home. There's so many factors, of course, the 4-point. But I mean, that's just the first thing that came to mind was those, the hurricane protection, because that does lower your insurance quite a bit. In our case, our insurance would have been, just as my primary example, our insurance was going to be closer to $8,000 per year.
Wow.
And we're beachside, we're on a canal, so we have a lot more risk than, say, most people do. But when we replaced all of our windows and doors with impact, it went from $8,000 to $3,500 a year.
Wow. So that's a big difference. $2,500. Did I do that math right? $2,500. $3,500.
Yes, no, you're okay.
Good thing I don't work with numbers. That $3,500 a year savings is huge. That's big, and that's like $400 a month or $300 a month in your $300 a month in your payment.
Yes.
There goes that public math again.
Okay.
But $300 a month in your payment, that's a lot more house to afford, right?
Yes.
That's significant.
Yeah.
So what mistakes do you see first-time home buyers making regarding budget? Speaking of budget and finances, and how can they avoid these pitfalls? Like what kind of mistakes do you see with the finances?
So I see they often factor their monthly payment, of course, but they forget about the cost or the maintenance of the home, of the home, like regular maintenance and utilities, and also if something breaks, you're the one responsible to fix it. You don't have a landlord, you don't have a management company doing that. So it's just important that I think you develop an emergency fund, you don't touch it, you leave it set aside. God forbid your AC breaks, you have some money set aside for that. I mean, that happened to us a couple years ago, and good thing we had that prepared, but not everyone does that.
Right. Well, you mentioned AC. I mean, roof, right? Roof is a huge determinant of the cost of your insurance, but it's a huge expense. We had a tile roof that needed to be replaced. There was an event that damaged, and I sent the insurance person out there to look at the roof, and it was damaged, and the event damaged the roof significantly, not insignificantly.
Right.
But had we not done that, I mean, it was a $70,000 roof.
It's a huge expense. You can't just fork over that kind of money in a day.
Most people don't think about that.
No.
So that's why I'll never buy a tile roof house again, because I don't want to have to replace that again. But then the AC, I mean, we replaced 3 AC units in our house, and it was like $16,000 or something. Now they're even more expensive. So you got to think about these other expenses as well. When it does come time to negotiate, they've been pre-approved by Morgan Financial, and when it does come time to negotiate on the price, what advice do you give first-time homebuyers to help them avoid, or what are some of the common mistakes they make in negotiations, and how can you give them? What kind of advice do you give them to avoid those mistakes?
So, in my opinion, everyone else's opinions are theirs, but with mine is, I don't think you should necessarily come in with a lowball offer just because.
Right.
Just because. So let's say your buyer comes in, say, I want to offer $50,000 less just because, let's just see. Well, sure, you can offer whatever you want. It's your money, but you risk insulting the seller, them thinking you're not a serious buyer, and maybe they could decline without even countering to you. It's important to look at the closed comps and the actives to develop a strategy with your realtor, and say it is a scenario where, it's been on the market a long time, or there's issues or whatever. There might be a strategy with offering $50,000 less. Sure, there might be scenarios where that that happens, but I wouldn't recommend you coming in just to see if they bite.
Right.
I don't think that's a good strategy because, like I said, you risk those things happening.
Well, yeah, the buying and selling happens between people, right? And people have feelings and they have emotions. And if you insult someone and you start off on that foot, it's going to travel through the whole negotiation.
Right.
And so you might end up getting a worse deal or not getting the house at all. If you really love it, you really need to act, like you said, look at the facts and data.
Right. Look at the comps and then go from there with a strategy with your realtor.
Yeah, I mean, lowball offers, and this is not 2009. I mean, people think, I want to wait till the prices go down. And we've heard this a million times, and we've been saying it for 3 years. The prices haven't really gone down. I mean, maybe some pockets we've seen them go down, but this is not people think it's a extreme buyer's market, and it's not really, is it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like you said, there's pockets, there's areas, there's scenarios, but as a whole, I don't really think that we're seeing the market dive the way that people are almost expecting or saying it will. And especially around here, I mean, this is such a destination location for people out of state, out of county. We see an influx of people all the time. Yeah, I mean, Florida's been, a lot of people have moved to Florida, but our area specifically in Brevard County, we have a lot of jobs here. A lot of companies have moved here. It's relatively affordable compared to the rest of a lot of other, higher population areas. And to me, it's more desirable. We don't have all those problems, right? I know. I totally agree with you. Not that there's anything wrong with other parts of Florida, but I like our little part of Florida. Can you share an example or a story where a first-time home buyer made a significant mistake and how you help them recover? Sure. So I did have a first-time home buyer she was a classic overthinker. And I won't say I'm not sometimes that as well. Me too. I think sometimes I'll do it. Right. But she stressed herself out a lot more than she should have by relying on the internet and family and friends who claim to be helpful. Experts in the field, of course. I won't sit here and say that the process isn't stressful, because it is, and you have people in your realm and you want to research stuff yourself, but that's why it's so important to hire someone to represent you as an agent, also to find an agent with good lender recommendations, because we can help them on the professional side versus just your friends trying to give you advice. And, once this buyer ditched those two things, we were able to finally get through to her, and we made it to closing because we were able to provide professional expertise and advice, both, myself and the lender that we used as well. So, I mean, it's a team setup. You have to work all together to get to the closing table. Yeah. I think you said the word expertise. I think of the word experience, and I think of the word expertise, and they're not the same. No. Well, you have experts that have only been doing it a couple of years, and because they've immersed themselves into the world, and then you have people experienced that don't know they've been doing it wrong all these years. Right. Just because you're experienced doesn't mean you know what is right and what's going on. And it does take expertise and local knowledge to really, to help your clients get the best deal out there, to understand what the other comps and how they apply and things like that. Right. Exactly. Cool. What's this is the humdingers, right? What's the single most important tip you would give first-time home buyers right now to ensure a smooth and successful purchase? So my advice is to use a experienced and well-reputable local lender, like you guys. Thank you. Knowledge of the area and experience in that area is so important, especially ones that your agent typically recommends because they know what to expect with that lender. They've worked with them before. I've seen so many times where these big box lenders, they claim that they can give you a good interest rate or a deal in some sort of way, or your bank that you use for a daily your daily transactions. Well, they end up falling through on their promises and exploding the contract or the transaction because they can't make what they said that they could do work, and they're unfamiliar with the area. They don't know what's going on with our Brevard County, and the lenders that I recommend, including of course you guys. Morgan Financial is excellent. You guys have worked this area for so long. You know exactly what to expect with these areas, and I know exactly what to expect from you guys. Well, thank you. First of all, let's just make it clear we did not pay you for that endorsement. You did not pay me for that. Okay, that was purely my answer. But you're spot on with the local, because people overlook that. Yes, a mortgage. When you get a mortgage, it is basically a commodity. All mortgages, once they're achieved, are basically the same. You make a payment to someone, but how you get it's a service, right? And it can make or break a deal.
And we've had to save numerous out of area lenders because really the difference is that we have skin in the game.
Yep.
You know, if we don't perform, you know, we don't have a model of spending millions of dollars to brainwash people to using us and, you know, little special logos or whatever. But we do it based on referral, and we won't get referrals if we don't do a good job. If they don't do a good job, it doesn't matter. There's another person that they've paid for the marketing to get right behind them.
You're spot on with that, because I couldn't agree more.
And so we have skin in the game. And a lot of people don't understand this, that we're going to, you know, figure a way out to make it happen. As long as it's legal, moral, ethical, and all those things, we're going to figure out a way to make it happen. And we're going to work really hard, because it's not just about, yes, we want to do a great job for our clients time and time again, because we want them to refer us more business in the future, and it's the right thing to do. But we also would do a good job for our referral partners, or else we won't have any clients.
Absolutely.
So it's a mutually beneficial, synergistic relationship that we have, and it ends in one way. A happy client is the goal of me, and probably you too, I would say.
Absolutely.
And so to make clients happy, you got to go above and beyond. We don't buy clients. You know, we get them through referrals, and that's really the difference. So I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, of course.
So,
it's the truth.
Yeah, thanks. Well, look, this has been really insightful for me. I've really learned a lot. Any final thoughts or words?
No, I mean, you guys have been fantastic with all of my clients, so can't wait to keep that train going.
Thank you. I like how you threw a train reference in there. Well, that's all we got for today. If you have if you're looking to buy a house in Florida, Florida area, we have contact information for Shelby down below. And so, you know, reach out with any comments, questions, anything, put them down below. If you're not a subscriber, now's the time to like, subscribe, share, do all those things, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much, Shelby.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.